The annual rate of inflation in Australia remained stable at 2.4% during April, and trim mean inflation, it lifted slightly to 2.8%. So how will the RBA react to these figures? Joining me now is AMP economist My Bui. My, thanks for your time today. Today's numbers were a little bit higher than expected, but the RBA knows the figures are volatile. Are you expecting them to still cut interest rates in July?
Hi, Ben. So first of all, a disclaimer with this inflation number is actually not a full inflation data set that's considered the gold standard by the RBA. It's actually just an indicator for inflation because it only covers about 2/3 of the inflation basket. And what do we see with that? We've seen the inflation indicator at smack bang in the middle of the target band at 2.4% for 9 consecutive months in a row. That's actually a pretty good sign for the RBA. Of course, there's a little bit of a worrying sign here, as you have mentioned, the trimmed mean measure, which basically strips out all of the noise in the inflation readings. They strip out things like the government rebates with electricity. They strip out things like the massive increase in egg prices, 18.6% over the last year. So when you strip those things out, it actually ticked up very slightly to 2.8% from last month's 2.7%. And that's actually slightly higher than the RBA forecast for the second quarter of this year of 2.6%. So what is that telling us? We don't think that the RBA would be too worried because the trimmed mean measure is slightly higher, but only very slightly. And this is only the first month within the quarter. So the RBA is probably going to wait and hold to see how the next coming months will be like.
So do you think they will cut by 25 basis points in about 7 weeks' time, 6 weeks' time?
I think the RBA does not have enough data points to worry about another cut in July. Why is that? Because our inflation, yes, it is very low, but we've started to see this trimmed mean inflation ticking up. On the other hand, the RBA has a dual mandate, which is the labor market, and they don't seem to be too worried about the labor market at the moment with unemployment rate just above 4%. That's actually quite low, especially compared to the pre-COVID average of between 5 and 6%. So nothing to worry right now for the RBA. They probably will be waiting and holding to see how the global developments will be like. That's still the major number one downside risk for the Australian economy over the next coming months. That won't play out just yet. So I think the earliest time that they probably will cut rates would come in about August or so.
All right, My Bui from AMP. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.